Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. My name is Shay Madeline and I am an artist, a hobby enthusiast, and lately somebody who's been trying her very best to make her life as whimsical as possible, one step at a time. Now before I get started, I just want to thank everyone for how well my video did last time I posted. I posted a little video about making some food from my favorite Studio Ghibli films, and by far it has been the best performing video on this channel in terms of long form content. Because how well that video did do, I decided to do another cooking video for you today. The special thing about this video is that I actually bought a new cookbook. So this new cookbook that I bought is not your average run-of-the-mill book that you might pick up, but instead it's one that is actually Pokemon themed, which if you know this channel, you do know that every once in a while I do throw in something that's a little bit Pokemon related, whether it's art or in this case cooking. My thought process is because I now have this brand new book, I want to make a whole series going through each recipe one by one. I am hoping that eventually by the end of the series I can get through the entire book and really get the most out of this purchase I just made. But anyways, I am super excited to get started, so let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Now this is what the Fabled cookbook looks like. It is just adorable and shows off what is within. Now here are some of the pages I'm going to show off. As you can see, every single treat inside of this book is Pokemon themed and based on a specific Pokemon. It is also broken up by regions, which I think is kind of cool. I don't think it's up to the most recent video game, which I don't know a whole lot about Pokemon, but still I think that is a pretty cool thing. So this is the very first treat that I will be making from this book. This is a honey cake that is based on the Pokemon called Combee. So the first step is adding a half cup of sugar and also another half cup of honey as well, so two of our sweet things. And then we also add a whole stick of butter. After adding those ingredients, you're supposed to cream them together using a stand mixer. I don't have a stand mixer right now, so I'm just using a hand mixer, and that worked pretty well. Later on in the recipe, I kind of wish I had a stand mixer because I needed something with a little bit more power, but it does a good job. After those are all mixed together, you can go ahead and beat in the eggs. There are 2 eggs total, but you should really beat them in one at a time. Next, you add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and then 1/2 cup of whole milk. I personally did not have whole milk, so I used, I believe, heavy whipping cream instead, and that seemed to work just fine. And then you just mix in those using your mixer. Finally, you add 1 2/3 cup of just regular flour, 1 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, as well as 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and then just 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. This I just kind of sprinkled in without measuring too much. And once again, you just go through and you mix everything together using your mixer. I then transferred this batter to my little cake pan that I have, and then after that I was able to throw it right into the oven. The next item to work on is the frosting for this cake. The base is 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 2 cups of powdered sugar, and 1/3 cup of honey. Next is 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and then just 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Now you're supposed to mix it for about 8 to 10 minutes. I think I mixed it for closer to 10 minutes just to make sure that it was all completely smooth and mixed together. Now at this point you just separate your frosting into different amounts and color them using food coloring to get exactly what you need for the decorations on your cake. Now this is the point in the video where it really starts to go downhill for this cake, and that is the decorating step. As you can tell, I've already kind of messed up because when I cut this cake to be kind of honeycomb shaped, I didn't bother drawing a stencil first to use, and I kind of just like eyeballed it, and it did not turn out very good. It does not have the shape that I was going for. And then I also just struggled so much when I was trying to apply the frosting. I should have maybe done like a crumb coat first, but I've never been good at applying frosting, so I think I was just kind of set up from the beginning, unfortunately. But yeah, this is what that first layer of frosting turned out as. It was supposed to be a completely smooth yellow layer for the Combee, but this is what we got in the end. And now I unfortunately have to admit that the next step did not go any better. I was trying to save some money by not buying a piping bag and instead using a big Ziploc bag to pipe out the details, and that did not turn out very good, as you can probably tell at this point. So I really did kind of just start to give up, and for the eyes, I just took chocolate chips and just shoved them into the cake to kind of resemble eyes. And that was another mistake maybe. I don't know. I mean, just look at this cake. It is very, very ugly. But luckily it did taste pretty good, so I am happy about that part at least. Low key though, can you even tell that it's supposed to be a Combee? I'm pretty sure that if I saw this, I would not know that that is what this is supposed to be. But no matter, regardless, we have to move on to our next recipe for today's video. So I somehow kind of messed up my recording for this next recipe. So I completely forgot to record the whole first half of this recipe, which is making the dough that you currently see on screen. And the dough that I have is the base for some cheesy pesto brioche rolls that are based on the Pokemon Chikorita. Luckily, how you do make these rolls though is pretty simple. You first start by making your dough and then you roll it out, and then you next go ahead and you spread a good hefty amount of pesto all over the whole area. After that, you add about 8 ounces of shredded mozzarella cheese, and then you add another 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and that is all you need for your filling of the rolls. From here, you go ahead and you just roll up your dough with the filling inside, and then you cut the roll into about 1 inch thick little roll pieces. After you cut the little 1 inch slices, you put them into a muffin pan that kind of lets them grow in the oven when you cook them. And now this is what they look like after they're completely cooked. When they were still soft, I added in the little basil leaves to make it look like Chikorita just a tiny little bit more. Now the next recipe that we're making is a type of bread called focaccia that is based on the Pokemon Floette, which is like a flower Pokemon. Ingredient number 1 is simply 2.5 cups of lukewarm water. Next is 1 tablespoon of honey, and then 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast. Next you then have to whisk it, and after that wait 5 to 10 minutes for this mixture to start to foam up. After it does foam, you then go ahead and you add 6 cups of all-purpose flour. Now this recipe also calls for quite a bit of olive oil. It calls for a whole 1/3 cup. But that olive oil is the last ingredient that we need for the dough, so I went ahead and I mixed it using a rubber spatula. Now this is a bread recipe, so of course it called for quite a few hours of just letting the dough rise at room temperature on the counter. After the dough rises, the next step is to prepare a sheet pan by taking olive oil and just greasing the whole pan, and then spreading the dough evenly across the entire pan. After that, you have to let it rise for 2 more hours. And then finally, once that is all done rising, you take all your herbs that you need, which include rosemary, thyme, and chives. And then you also take cherry tomatoes and olives, and you kind of make a little drawing or painting on top of the bread by using those materials. The idea is that on top should kind of look like flowers or plants, where the petals are made out of the olives and the tomatoes, and then the stems are made using the herbs. Once you get it to a point where you're liking the design, you go ahead and you bake it for about 25 minutes. And now I can finally reveal all 3 of the dishes that I made. Honestly, I think they all, for the most part, turned out very nice, and the only one that I am unhappy with how it looks is the cake, like I talked about before, but luckily it all tasted really, really good. I think my favorite was the brioche rolls, but I also liked the bread because I was able to add a little bit of olive oil and salt, and that really just made all the world of a difference, and it was super yummy. So that was Pokemon baking. I really, really enjoyed this process and the cookbook as a whole. Of course, I do love baking. That is one of my favorite hobbies, but I think it's always kind of fun and cool to take it on in a different way than what I may be used to, especially with this way of, you know, using one hobby or one interest of mine, which is Pokemon, and combining that with another interest, which is baking. To wrap things up though, like I said, really enjoyed this process, and I hope you guys enjoy it too, and let me know that, because my last baking video, like I said before, did do pretty well, so I'm hoping this one does well, and I can in fact make this into a series that you guys enjoy quite a bit. On that note, if you did enjoy today's video, especially with the Pokemon theme, please do like and subscribe, as well as let me know in the comments. And also let me know if there's any other type of baking or cooking series that you would like to see. I think it might be interesting to do like a fantasy series, as well as continue my anime series by doing another, like, instead of Ghibli, a different anime, and making a baking series that is all just from different anime shows. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I don't want to make this channel completely about cooking and baking, but I do think it's fun to throw in those videos every now and again. But anyways, that is all I have for you today. I hope you go forth and have a wonderful, whimsical, and also hopefully creative day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!